The janitor was ignored in the hangar until he used his father's secret and drove like no one else. Jason Miller was mopping the hangar floor in Los Angeles with his usual dedication, while the technicians and drivers passed by him as if he were invisible. At 22, he had been working there for 3 years doing cleaning and basic maintenance, receiving only looks of disdain from the country's most prestigious racing team. The helmet of the lead driver, Michael Thompson, slipped from his hands as he was removing his gear after a practice session. The object rolled across the waxed floor until it stopped at Jason's feet, who immediately bent down to pick it up. As he extended the helmet back to Michael, he was shoved roughly. "Watch where you put your dirty hands, janitor," Michael said loudly enough for everyone in the hangar to hear. "This helmet costs more than your yearly salary." Jason felt his face burn with shame as laughter echoed through the space. Some mechanics shook their heads, showing discomfort with the public humiliation, but no one said anything. The hierarchy in the racing world was rigid, and questioning a champion driver meant risking your job. "Sorry, Mr. Michael," murmured Jason, lowering his eyes. "Next time, leave it on the floor and call someone appropriate to pick it up," continued Michael, arrogantly adjusting his blonde hair. "Some things aren't for just anyone to touch." Rachel Wilson, the team's chief engineer, watched the scene from the other side of the hangar while analyzing data on her tablet. At 35, she had earned respect in the male-dominated racing environment through hard work and competence. Something about the young janitor's resigned posture bothered her. Jason returned to his cleaning tasks, but Michael's words echoed in his mind. It wasn't the first time he had suffered this kind of humiliation, but today it had hurt more. Perhaps because at that moment, while holding the helmet, he had felt a strange connection to the racing world he always observed from afar. At night, when the hangar became empty and silent, Jason carried out his deep cleaning routine. It was in these moments that he truly felt at ease without the judging eyes of the team. He could walk freely among the cars, observe the equipment, and imagine what it would be like to be in the driver's place. That specific night, while organizing a storage room at the back of the hangar, he found something unexpected. Covered by a dusty tarp, there was an old racing simulator that had apparently been forgotten there. The screen was off and some wires were loose, but the structure seemed functional. Jason looked around to make sure he was alone. His curiosity overcame caution, and he decided to investigate further. After a few minutes of fiddling with the wires and buttons, he managed to turn on the equipment. The screen flickered a few times before showing the simulator's main menu. The young man hesitated for a moment. He knew he shouldn't be messing with it, but something stronger than reason drove him. He sat in the simulator seat and placed his hands on the steering wheel. Immediately, childhood memories flooded his mind. His father, Robert James Miller, had been a mechanic for a small kart racing team in the 90s. Jason grew up in the track environment, but always as an observer. Robert James used to take his son to practices and races, explaining every technical detail of the cars and driving strategies. "Jason, driving isn't just about accelerating and turning the wheel," his father would say while tuning an engine. "It's about understanding the car, feeling every vibration, every change in behavior. It's almost like a conversation between you and the machine." Robert James had stopped working with racing when Jason was 12. He said he wanted to dedicate more time to family and opened a small mechanic shop in the neighborhood. He never explained the real reasons for abandoning his passion, and Jason never pressed the issue much. The simulator offered various track options. Jason chose the Laguna Seca circuit, which he knew well from watching many races there with his father. As soon as he started driving virtually, something extraordinary happened. His movements on the wheel were natural, almost instinctive. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. The techniques his father had taught years ago seemed etched into his muscle memory. Jason could anticipate turns, make precise passes, and maintain high speeds without losing control. Within minutes, he was completing laps with impressive times. For 3 weeks, Jason kept his secret. Every night, after finishing cleaning, he dedicated a few hours to the simulator. His times kept improving, and he began trying more advanced techniques he vaguely remembered from his father's explanations. During the day, he watched the drivers work more closely. He noticed details in their driving techniques that had previously gone unnoticed. Sometimes he even spotted mistakes the drivers themselves didn't catch, like poorly calculated turns or premature accelerations. Rachel Wilson had noticed something different in the young cleaner's behavior. He seemed more attentive during training sessions and showed genuine interest in what was happening around the cars. One morning, she caught him intently watching telemetry data on one of the screens while cleaning the nearby area. "Do you understand any of these numbers?" Rachel asked, surprising Jason. "No, ma'am," he replied quickly, going back to scrubbing the floor. "I was just cleaning here." Rachel realized he had lied. The young man's expression showed understanding, not just curiosity. She decided to look further into his past by checking his employee file. The last name Miller sparked a vague memory in Rachel. She had started her motorsport career in the 90s, still as an intern, and remembered a very skilled mechanic named Robert James Miller. Could it be a coincidence? That same night, Rachel decided to stay in the hangar after hours to review some data. That's when she heard noises coming from the storage room. Curious and concerned about security, she went to investigate. What she found completely surprised her. Jason was in the simulator, totally focused on a virtual race. His movements were smooth and precise, showing a skill she hadn't expected from a cleaner. Rachel watched for a few minutes, impressed by the young man's performance on the screen. "Jason," she called softly, so as not to startle him. The young man nearly jumped out of the simulator seat upon hearing her voice. His face paled, and he began stammering explanations. "Miss Rachel, I can explain. I wasn't doing anything wrong." "Calm down," she said, approaching and looking at the data on the screen. "Are these your times?" Jason just nodded, expecting to be fired on the spot. Rachel analyzed the numbers with growing surprise. His times at Laguna Seca were only 2 seconds off the current track record, which was extraordinary for someone driving on an old simulator. "Who taught you to drive?" Rachel asked. "My dad," Jason replied quietly. "He worked in racing when I was a kid." "Robert James Miller." The young man's eyes widened, surprised that she knew his father. "You know my dad?" Rachel nodded slowly. The memories were coming back. Robert James had been one of the most talented mechanics she had known early in her career. He had impressive technical knowledge and a special intuition for car adjustments. "Your father was one of the best mechanics I've ever seen," said Rachel. "Why did he stop working with racing?" Jason lowered his eyes. It was a question he had asked his father several times himself, but had never received a complete answer. He said he wanted to dedicate more time to family. He opened a shop in the neighborhood and never wanted anything to do with racing again. Rachel sensed there was more to the story than Jason knew. She vaguely remembered an incident involving Robert James in the 90s, but couldn't recall the details. She decided she needed to investigate further. "Can you do me a favor?" she asked. "Tomorrow is Saturday, and the hangar will be emptier. How about you come here and show me what you can do with a real car?" Jason could hardly believe what he was hearing. Part of him was thrilled at the possibility, but another part felt afraid. What if he wasn't good enough? What if he disappointed Rachel and lost his job? "I'm not sure if it would be appropriate, Ms. Rachel," he said hesitantly. "Leave that to me," she replied with a smile. "Just don't tell anyone for now, okay?" That night, Jason barely slept. He kept thinking about the conversation with Rachel and the possibility of finally driving a real race car. At the same time, memories of his father came back to him. Why had Robert James abandoned racing? Was there something he didn't know? On Saturday morning, Jason arrived at the hangar an hour before the agreed time with Rachel. His heart was pounding with anxiety and anticipation. He found Rachel already there, preparing one of the training cars. "Nervous?" she asked, noticing his state. "A little," admitted Jason. "It's normal. Even the most experienced drivers get nervous before driving a new car," said Rachel. "Let's start slow. This is a training car, less powerful than the race cars, but it still demands respect." Rachel explained the basic controls and safety procedures. Jason absorbed every piece of information with total attention. When he finally sat in the driver's seat and put on the helmet, he felt an indescribable emotion. "Remember your father's lessons," Rachel said over the radio. "Let's start with a few very slow reconnaissance laps." Jason started the engine and felt the powerful vibration of the car. His hands trembled slightly on the steering wheel, but as soon as he started moving, something familiar took over him. It was as if all his father's explanations were materializing at once. The first laps were cautious, as Rachel had asked. Jason familiarized himself with the pedals, the steering response, and the car's behavior. With each lap, he gained more confidence and gradually increased his speed. "How are you feeling?" Rachel asked over the radio. "It's amazing," Jason replied, his voice full of pure joy. "It's exactly as my father said it would be." Rachel watched the telemetry data and grew increasingly impressed. Jason's times were constantly improving, and his technique was surprisingly refined for someone who had never driven a race car. After 15 laps, Rachel asked him to return to the pits. Jason was beaming when he got out of the car, but tried to contain his excitement. "So?" he asked eagerly. "Jason, you have an impressive natural talent," Rachel said sincerely. "Your final times are only 5 seconds above Michael's times when he started driving here." The young man could hardly believe it. Michael was considered one of the best drivers in the category, and he had come close to his initial times on his very first try. "But there's one thing I need to know," Rachel continued. "Did your father really teach you driving techniques?" "Yes, since I was little. He always said that one day I would drive, but when he stopped working with racing, we never brought up the subject again." Rachel decided it was time to uncover the truth about Robert James's past. That afternoon, she went to the team's archives looking for old records. She found what she was looking for in the 1998 files. Robert James Miller had worked as chief mechanic for a small team that competed in the national championship. He was respected and considered one of the best in the category. But his career had ended abruptly after an incident during a race. According to the documents, a driver had suffered a serious accident after the car experienced a mechanical failure. Robert James, as the responsible mechanic, was accused of maintenance negligence. Although it wasn't proven that the failure was caused by his error, his reputation was tarnished, and he couldn't find work in the field anymore. Rachel felt a tightness in her chest as she read the details. Robert James had been the scapegoat of a system that needed to blame someone for the accident. The subsequent investigation had shown that the failure was caused by a manufacturing defect in the part, but the damage to his career was already done. Monday arrived, and Rachel couldn't get the story out of her head. During lunch, she sought out Dave Roberts Johnson, a veteran mechanic who had worked with the team for over 20 years. If anyone would remember the details about Robert James, it would be him. "Robert James Miller," said Dave Roberts thoughtfully. "Of course I remember. One of the best mechanics I've ever known. What happened to him was an injustice. Can you tell me the details?" Dave Roberts looked around to make sure no one was listening. Robert James was too meticulous to make maintenance mistakes. That accident wasn't his fault. The part that broke had a manufacturing defect that was only discovered later. But you know how this business is. When they need someone to blame, it always falls on those with the least influence. And what happened after? He was blacklisted by the main teams. He tried working with smaller teams, but the shadow of the accusation followed him. He ended up giving up and never came back. A huge loss for the sport. Rachel thanked Dave Roberts and returned to her desk with a heavy feeling in her chest. Now she understood why Jason didn't know the whole story. Robert James had protected his son from the pain of knowing that his career had been unjustly destroyed. That afternoon, she made a decision. Jason deserved a chance not just for his talent, but also as a form of belated justice for his father. She scheduled a meeting with William Wilson, the team owner, and her father. William Wilson had built Wilson Motorsport from scratch in the 80s. At 68 years old, he was still active in managing the company, but had left technical decisions in his daughter's hands. He was known for being fair, but also for not tolerating incompetence. "Dad, I need to talk to you about a delicate situation," said Rachel when she entered his office. "What is it, daughter?" Rachel told the whole story, the discovery of Jason's talent, his connection to Robert James, and the injustice of the past. William listened attentively, asking a few specific questions. "Robert James Miller," repeated William thoughtfully. "I remember him. He was truly competent. That case was poorly resolved indeed. What do you think about giving Jason a chance?" William remained silent for a few minutes, analyzing the situation from all angles. "Rachel, you know I can't make decisions based on sentimentality. This is a serious company." "I know, Dad, but his talent is real. I saw it with my own eyes. And how would Michael react if he found out we're considering promoting a janitor?" Rachel knew that would be the main difficulty. Michael had been the team's lead driver for 5 years and had an ego proportional to his talent. Accepting that a janitor could pose any threat would be impossible for him. "That's why it needs to be done carefully," said Rachel. "Maybe we could start with some private tests, see how far Jason can go." William agreed to think about it, but asked Rachel not to get the young man's hopes up until a decision was made. Meanwhile, Jason continued his normal routine in the hangar, but now with a completely different perspective. He watched the training sessions with more technical attention, analyzing the driver's techniques and comparing them to what he had learned in the simulator and during the test with Rachel. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. One afternoon, while cleaning near the pits, he overheard an argument between Michael and one of the mechanics about the car's suspension setup. The driver complained that the car was too loose in the fast corners, but the mechanic insisted that the settings were correct. Jason immediately recognized the problem. His father had explained similar situations years ago. The issue wasn't with the suspension, but with the aerodynamic setup. The driver was confusing the symptoms. For a moment, he considered intervening in the conversation, but quickly dismissed the idea. Who was he to question a champion driver and an experienced mechanic? He returned to his tasks, but continued to hear the argument escalate. "I know what I'm feeling in the car," Michael said angrily. "The suspension is too soft. We need to stiffen the setup." "Michael, the data shows the suspension is within optimal parameters," replied the mechanic. "Maybe it's a driving issue." The suggestion that it might be a driving error made Michael furious. He stood up abruptly from his chair and approached the mechanic with his face red with anger. "A driving issue? I've been winning races since before you learned to change car oil." The argument was drawing attention from other team members. Rachel quickly appeared to calm things down before the situation got out of control. "What's going on here?" she asked authoritatively. "Your incompetent mechanic is questioning my driving ability," Michael said, pointing at the young man. "I only said the data doesn't indicate a suspension problem," the mechanic defended himself. Rachel quickly analyzed the data on the screen and realized there was indeed no apparent issue with the suspension. But she also knew Michael was too experienced to imagine non-existent problems. "Let's do this," she said diplomatically. "I'll ask another mechanic to give a second opinion on the setup." Michael reluctantly agreed and walked away from the group. Jason, who had witnessed the whole scene, felt a strong urge to help. He knew exactly what the problem was, but had no authority to speak. During the lunch break, Jason discreetly approached Rachel. "Miss Rachel, may I speak with you privately?" Rachel noticed the young man's serious expression and called him into a private room. "What is it, Jason?" "It's about Michael's car problem. I think I know what the issue is." Rachel raised her eyebrows, surprised. "What do you mean?" "My father taught me that when a driver feels the car loose in fast corners, but the suspension data is normal, the problem is usually with the rear wing. Probably the aerodynamic setup is generating too little downforce." Rachel was impressed with the young man's technical analysis. It was exactly the kind of diagnosis she would expect from an experienced engineer, not a janitor. "Jason, are you sure about what you're saying?" "My father always said the car speaks to the driver, but sometimes we hear what we want to hear, not what it's really saying." Rachel decided to check Jason's suggestion. She asked the engineering team to analyze Michael's car's aerodynamic setup. An hour later, they discovered Jason was right. The rear wing was set up for a different track, producing less downforce than needed. The fix was made quickly, and Michael went out for a new test. In the very first laps, he confirmed the problem had been solved. The car was much more stable in the fast corners. "Who identified the real issue?" asked Michael when he returned to the pits. Rachel hesitated for a moment. She knew revealing it was Jason could create an awkward situation. "It was a team effort," she replied diplomatically. But Dave Roberts, who had witnessed part of the conversation, couldn't resist commenting. "Actually, it was Jason who suggested checking the aerodynamics," he said without malice. Michael looked at the veteran mechanic with a confused expression. "Jason? Who's Jason?" "The janitor," replied Dave Roberts. "Son of Robert James Miller. Remember him? An excellent mechanic who worked here in the 90s. The name Robert James made Michael frown. He had started racing precisely in the 90s and vaguely remembered the mechanic. "Robert James Miller," murmured Michael. "Wasn't he the one involved in an accident and accused of negligence?" "The same," confirmed Dave Roberts. "But the accusation was unfair. The subsequent investigation proved that." Michael walked over to Jason, who was organizing tools nearby. The young man became visibly nervous when he saw the driver approaching. "Was it you who identified the problem with my car?" Jason swallowed hard before answering. "I just suggested checking the aerodynamic setup, Mr. Michael. How would a janitor know that?" The question sounded more curious than aggressive, but Jason still felt uncomfortable. "My father taught me a few things about race cars when I was a kid." Michael studied the young man's face for a few seconds. There was something familiar in those eyes, a determination he recognized in talented drivers. "Interesting," said Michael before walking away. The word quickly reached William Wilson's ears that the janitor had solved a technical problem that had stumped the team. William called Rachel into his office that same afternoon. "Daughter, I think it's time to get to know this young man better," said William. "Schedule a meeting with him and me for tomorrow." Jason barely slept that night. Rachel had informed him that William wanted to talk to him, but she hadn't given details about the reason. He imagined it might be related to the incident with Michael's car, but he didn't know if it would be positive or negative. The next morning, Jason showed up at William's office promptly at 10 o'clock. He was wearing his best clothes and had gotten a haircut, trying to make a good impression. William greeted him with a paternal smile that helped ease his nervousness. "Jason, please have a seat. I want to get to know Robert James's son better." "You knew my father?" "I did, and respected him greatly. Your father was one of the best mechanics ever to work with this team. What happened to him was an injustice." Jason felt his eyes well up. It was the first time someone had publicly acknowledged his father's competence and the injustice he had suffered. "My father never wanted to talk much about that time," said Jason with a choked voice. "He was protecting you from the pain he felt," explained William. "Robert James was a man of integrity who was sacrificed by an imperfect system." William told Jason all the details about what had really happened to his father. The subsequent investigation, the discovery of the manufacturing defect, the confirmation that Robert James hadn't made any mistake. "Why did no one ever clear his name publicly?" asked Jason with a mixture of sadness and anger. "Because when the truth came out, he had already disappeared from the scene. And unfortunately, the racing world has a short memory for past injustices." William explained that Rachel had told him about Jason's talent and about the tests they had done. He said he was willing to give him an opportunity to develop within the team, but that it would be a gradual process. "Jason, I'll be frank with you. Having talent is just the first step. You'll need to work hard, study, dedicate your life to this if you want to succeed in racing. I'm willing to do anything, Mr. William. Then let's start slowly. You'll continue with your current duties, but in your free time you'll work with our development team. You'll learn about engines, aerodynamics, electronics, everything that involves a race car." Jason could barely contain his emotion. It was more than he had dreamed of in his most optimistic fantasies. "And the driving?" he asked timidly. "That we'll see in time. First, you need to completely understand how a race car works. Only then can we evaluate if you have the potential to be more than a talented mechanic." That afternoon, Jason called his father to share the news. Robert James remained silent for a long time after hearing the whole story. "Son, are you sure this is what you want?" he finally asked. "I am, Dad. And now I know the truth about what happened to you. Mr. William told me everything." Robert James sighed deeply on the other end of the line. "Jason, this world can be cruel. You'll face a lot of resistance, a lot of envy. Not everyone will want to see you succeed. I know, Dad, but you taught me that giving up doesn't solve anything. You didn't have the chance to defend yourself back then, but I'll have the chance to show that the Millers know what they're talking about. All right, son, you have my blessing. But remember what I always taught you. Respect is earned through hard work and humility, not with arrogance." The following weeks were a period of intense learning for Jason. In the morning, he continued with his cleaning and basic maintenance duties. In the afternoon, he worked with the development team, learning about every component of the cars. Rachel had become his unofficial mentor. She explained the principles of aerodynamics, taught him how to interpret telemetry data, and showed how small adjustments could make big differences in performance. Jason absorbed every piece of information like a sponge. He asked smart questions and demonstrated a technical understanding that impressed even the most experienced engineers. But what stood out the most was his respectful attitude towards everyone, regardless of their position in the hierarchy. Michael observed the situation with growing curiosity. Several times, he had caught Jason in complex technical discussions with the engineers, always contributing relevant insights. He began to wonder if he hadn't underestimated the young man. 1 month after Jason's development program began, the team was preparing for the most important race of the season. The national championship was coming to an end, and Michael was in second place, just 5 points behind the leader. During the qualifying sessions, Michael's car developed a handling problem that no one could identify. The driver complained that the car was locking up in medium-speed corners, losing grip inconsistently. The technical team worked for hours trying to find the cause. They checked the suspension, the tires, the aerodynamics, but nothing explained the car's strange behavior. With just 2 hours until the race start, desperation began to take hold of everyone. Jason was watching the data on the screen when he noticed something everyone had missed. The problem wasn't in the main components, but rather in a small part of the steering system that had a microscopic looseness. It was something that would only be noticed by someone who knew that specific type of problem very well. He approached Rachel hesitantly. "Ms. Rachel, may I offer a suggestion?" Rachel was so desperate she would accept ideas from anyone. "Go ahead, Jason." "I think the problem might be in the left steering arm. There's an almost imperceptible play that only manifests under specific load." Rachel looked at him in surprise. It was a very specific and technical diagnosis. "How did you reach that conclusion?" "From the telemetry data. The loss of grip always happens at the same point in left turns, but intermittently. It's exactly the pattern my father taught me to recognize for steering arm play." Rachel immediately called Dave Roberts. The veteran mechanic checked the part Jason had indicated and confirmed there was minimal play causing the problem. "How on earth did he manage to identify that?" asked Dave Roberts, impressed. "Even I hadn't noticed." The fix was made quickly, and Michael went out for a quick test. The car returned to normal behavior immediately. With 15 minutes until the race start, the problem was solved. Michael returned to the pits visibly relieved. "Who found the problem this time?" he asked. "Jason again," replied Dave Roberts without hesitation. Michael looked at the young man with an expression mixing surprise and respect. "Jason, thank you. You may have saved my season." It was the first time Michael had treated him with genuine recognition. Jason felt deep emotion, but tried to remain humble. "I just did what my father taught me, Mr. Michael." Michael had won the pole position in that qualifying session and won the race, taking the lead in the championship. During the celebration in the pits, he made sure to call Jason and thank him publicly. "Everyone, I want you all to know that part of this victory belongs to Jason," Michael told the entire team. "Without his technical competence, we might not have even finished the race." Michael's public recognition changed how the team viewed Jason. From an invisible janitor, he had become a respected part of the operation. But with recognition also came new challenges. Some team members began questioning why a janitor was being involved in important technical matters. There were malicious comments about favoritism and Jason getting too big for his britches. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Her small but vocal group, led by a mechanic named Robert Johnson, no relation to Dave Roberts, began creating a hostile environment for Jason. They spread rumors that he was trying to promote himself at the expense of others' work. That kid is using his father's name to get privileges, Robert Johnson told some colleagues during lunch. Soon he'll want to become a driver. The comments reached Jason's ears, and he was deeply hurt. He had made an effort to be respectful and humble, but it seemed some would always find reasons to criticize him. Rachel noticed the change in atmosphere and decided to talk to Jason about the situation. Jason, are you okay? I've noticed you've been somewhat down lately. Miss Rachel, some people are saying I'm taking advantage of the situation. Maybe it's better if I just go back to being the janitor. Jason, this is jealousy and envy. You earned your place here through competence and hard work. Don't let the pettiness of others affect your growth. But what if they're right? What if I'm really forcing a situation that isn't natural? Rachel sat beside him and spoke firmly. Jason, your talent is real. Your contribution to this team has been valuable. The problem isn't with you. It's with the mindset of some people who can't accept that competence can come from unexpected places. She told Jason about her own difficulties when she started in the field. As a woman in a male-dominated environment, she had faced constant questioning of her abilities. She learned that the only effective response was to keep working and proving her worth. The difference is that you were always treated as an engineer, said Jason. I'm the janitor trying to be something more. And there's nothing wrong with that, replied Rachel. Some of the best professionals I've known started in humble positions. What matters is what you're capable of doing, not where you came from. The conversation helped Jason regain confidence, but he decided he needed to definitively prove his worth. The opportunity came in an unexpected way. During a private test the following week, Michael suffered a sudden illness that prevented him from completing the development program for a new aerodynamic package. The team urgently needed the data for the next race. William Wilson was present at the test and was concerned about the schedule delay. We can't lose this test day, he told Rachel. This data is crucial for the car setup. I can call the reserve driver, suggested Rachel. He's competing in another championship in Miami. He wouldn't get here in time. It was then that Jason, who was organizing equipment nearby, approached timidly. Mr. William, could I try to help? William looked at the young man with surprise. What do you mean, Jason? I know the test protocol. I've been studying the data and know exactly what kind of information you need. If you give me a chance, I can try to collect the necessary data. William exchanged looks with Rachel. The situation was delicate. Allowing an employee with no official experience to drive during an important test was a big risk. Jason, this isn't a game, said William seriously. We're talking about a car worth millions and data that could determine the outcome of important races. I understand, Mr. William, but I've driven this car before with Ms. Rachel. I know I can do the job. Rachel confirmed to William that Jason had demonstrated competence in previous tests. After a few minutes of reflection, William made the decision. All right, but with some conditions. You'll strictly follow the test protocol. No improvisations or attempts to impress. We want consistent data, not fast laps. Jason nodded enthusiastically. It was the opportunity he had waited for his whole life. As Jason prepared for the test, Robert Johnson and his group watched with disapproving expressions. This is absurd, murmured Robert. Letting a janitor drive $1 million car. Hope he crashes the car, said another mechanic. Then they'll see they were wrong. Dave Roberts, who was nearby, couldn't contain himself. You're just jealous, he said firmly. The kid deserves the chance, and from what I've seen so far, he's more competent than many drivers out there. The discussion was interrupted by the sound of the engine starting. Jason was ready to begin the test. The first laps were cautious exactly as the protocol required. Jason focused on collecting consistent data about the car's aerodynamic behavior, varying speeds, and specific positions according to instructions. Rachel was monitoring the data in the telemetry center and was impressed with his precision. Jason was following the protocol to the letter, maintaining exact speeds and positioning the car at the correct points on the track to collect the necessary information. "How's the data looking?" asked William. "Perfect," replied Rachel. "He's doing exactly what we needed. His consistency is impressive." After 2 hours of testing, Jason had collected all the required data. When he returned to the pits, he was visibly emotional, but trying to keep his composure. "How was it?" asked William. "Incredible, Mr. William. The car responded exactly as the data indicated it should. The new aerodynamic package is working perfectly." Rachel confirmed that all test objectives had been met. The data collected by Jason was not only sufficient but exceptionally precise. William observed the young man for a few seconds before speaking. "Jason, you've just proven to me that you have the potential to be more than a talented mechanic. I'm going to make you an offer." Jason held his breath, waiting for William's words. "I want you to become our official test driver. You'll continue learning about the technical side, but you'll also get regular opportunities to drive." The young man could hardly believe what he was hearing. Going from janitor to test driver in just a few months seemed like an impossible dream. "Mr. William, I accept. I'll work hard to deserve this opportunity." "I'm sure you will," said William with a smile. "Your father would be proud." The news of Jason's promotion spread quickly through the hangar. Reactions varied from genuine celebrations to bitter comments from the envious. Michael, who had returned after his discomfort, was informed about the test and its results. His reaction surprised everyone. "William, you made the right decision," he said. "Jason has proven his competence, and honestly, it's better to have someone reliable as a test driver than to depend on outside drivers." Michael's support was crucial to legitimizing Jason's position with the rest of the team. If the lead driver recognized the young man's value, it meant his promotion was based on real merit. That evening, Jason called his father to share the news. Robert James was emotional hearing that his son had become an official driver, even if just for testing. "Son, you're living the dream I never managed to complete," said Robert James with a choked voice. "But remember, humility and hard work, always." "Yes, Dad, and I'll never forget where I came from and who helped me get here." The following months were a period of steady growth for Jason. As a test driver, he developed new components, adjusted configurations, and provided technical feedback to the engineering team. His ability to translate driving sensations into precise technical information made him increasingly valuable. Rachel regularly commented that Jason had a special intuition for identifying problems and suggesting solutions. During this period, Jason also began training more seriously. William hired a physical trainer and a driving instructor to help with his development. The young man took the training seriously, dedicating all his free time to improvement. Michael, initially skeptical, began to develop genuine respect for Jason. Several times they discussed technical aspects of the cars, and Michael was impressed by the young man's depth of knowledge. "Jason, you think like an engineer and feel like a driver," Michael commented after a data analysis session. "It's a rare combination. I learned from my father that driving and engineering can't be separated. One feeds the other." Your father was truly very wise. The season was coming to an end, and Michael had clinched the national championship, partly thanks to Jason's technical contributions to the car's development. During the title celebration, William made an announcement that surprised everyone. "Team, I want to take this moment of joy to announce our plans for the next season," William told the entire gathered team. "We're expanding our operation and will also compete in the Touring Car Championship, and our second driver will be Jason Miller." The initial silence was followed by an outburst of reactions. Some cheered enthusiastically, others looked visibly surprised, and a few showed discontent. Jason was in shock. Becoming an official driver was something he hadn't even dared to dream of a few months ago. "Mr. William, I don't know what to say," stammered Jason. "Say you'll work hard to honor the trust we're placing in you," replied William. "I'll give my all for this opportunity." Michael approached Jason and extended his hand. "Welcome to the team, partner. I'll do my best to help you learn whatever you need." Michael's generosity moved Jason deeply. The driver, who had humiliated him on the first day, now treated him as an equal and offered help. Robert Johnson and his group couldn't hide their displeasure with William's decision. In the following days, they spread comments about favoritism and Jason not having enough experience to be an official driver. "This is going to fail," Robert predicted to his allies. "He'll crash and burn in the first race, and then they'll see we were right." Dave Roberts, increasingly annoyed by his namesake's attitude, decided to confront him directly. "Robert, your problem with Jason has nothing to do with competence. It's pure envy." "Envy? Of the janitor?" "Of the talent you never had," replied Dave Roberts bluntly. "The kid showed more value in a few months than you have in years of work." The argument nearly came to blows but was interrupted by other mechanics. The atmosphere grew tense and Rachel decided to speak with William about the situation. "Dad, we have a team morale problem. Some people aren't taking Jason's promotion well." "Daughter, this always happens with major changes. Those left behind always find reasons to complain about those who rise, but it could affect the team's performance if not resolved." William agreed the situation needed addressing. He called a general meeting to clarify some points. "Team, I'm here today to talk about this team's future," William began firmly. "Some of you are questioning decisions I've made based on decades of experience in this business. I want to make it clear that Jason's promotion wasn't based on sentimentality or favoritism. It was based on concrete results that all of you witnessed. Anyone who can't accept this is free to seek work elsewhere. I won't tolerate envy and pettiness affecting our team environment." The message was clear and direct. William had made it evident that he fully supported Jason and wouldn't tolerate internal sabotage. After the meeting, Robert Johnson resigned, along with 2 other mechanics from his group. William promptly accepted, considering it better to lose toxic elements than maintain a negative environment. With the departure of the most problematic members, the team atmosphere improved significantly. Jason could focus entirely on preparing for his first season as an official driver. The months of preparation for the new season were intense. Jason divided his time between physical training, simulator work, theoretical studies, and testing with the touring car. It was a different category from Michael's, with less powerful but equally competitive cars. Rachel was closely monitoring Jason's development, providing all the necessary technical support. She had become more than a mentor. She was almost like a second mother to him. "Jason, you've progressed more in 1 year than many drivers do in 5, Rachel remarked, after a particularly good testing session. "I still have a lot to learn, Ms. Rachel." "Of course you do. But the important thing is you have the right foundation, humility to learn and talent to apply what you learn." Robert James had started visiting the hangar again, especially on weekends when Jason was testing. It was exciting to see his father returning to the environment he had abandoned due to an injustice. "How does it feel being back here, Dad?" Jason asked during one of the breaks. "Strange, but good," Robert James replied, looking around. "This place holds many memories, good and bad. But seeing you here fulfilling our dream makes any past pain worthwhile." William made sure to treat Robert James with the respect he deserved, introducing him to the newer team members as one of the best mechanics who had ever worked there. "Robert James, your presence here is always welcome," William said during one of these visits. "Your experience can greatly help in Jason's development and the entire team." Robert James agreed to be an unofficial technical consultant, helping especially with the more complex mechanical aspects. His presence brought a new technical dimension to the team, combining old experience with modern technology. Jason's first official race as a driver was approaching. It would be at the Indianapolis circuit, a track he only knew from the simulator. The anxiety was immense, but so was the expectation. During the week before the race, Jason could barely sleep. He constantly reviewed track data, studied videos of previous races, and practiced on the simulator until late hours. "Jason, you need to relax," Rachel said, noticing his tense state. "You're prepared. Too much anxiety will only get in the way." "It's hard to relax, Ms. Rachel. It's my first official race. I'm afraid of disappointing you all." "Jason, you've already proven your worth many times. This race is just another opportunity to show what we know you're capable of." Michael also offered valuable advice based on his experience. "Jason, everyone gets nervous in their first race. The secret is to channel that nervousness into concentration. Use the adrenaline to your advantage, don't let it control you. How do you do that? I remember that I prepared well, that I deserve to be there, and that I'm going to do my best. The result is a consequence of preparation and effort. The team traveled to Indianapolis on the Thursday before the race. Jason was visibly nervous during the trip, but tried to hide it by talking about technical aspects of the track. The first contact with the actual circuit was thrilling. Jason had studied every turn in the simulator, but driving on the physical track was a completely different experience. The first laps were for reconnaissance, feeling the specific characteristics of the asphalt and the turns. "How's the car?" Rachel asked over the radio. "Better than I expected," Jason replied. "The balance is good, but I need to get used to the asphalt grip." The free practice sessions went well. Jason gradually gained confidence, improving his times with each session. He wasn't among the fastest, but his progress was steady and promising. On Friday evening, Robert James arrived in Indianapolis to watch his son's first official race. His presence brought a mix of joy and additional responsibility for Jason. "Dad, thank you for being here," Jason said emotionally. "I wouldn't miss this for anything in the world, son. I'll be in the stands cheering for you." "And if I don't get a good result?" "Jason, the result doesn't matter. What matters is that you got here with dignity and hard work. That's already a bigger victory than any trophy." The qualifying session took place on Saturday morning. Jason was noticeably more tense than in the free practices. In the first laps, his times were below what he had shown previously. "Jason, take a deep breath and focus on what you know how to do," said Rachel over the radio. "You know this track, you know the car. Let it flow naturally." Rachel's advice helped Jason calm down. In the second half of qualifying, he started lowering his times consistently. He didn't get the pole position, but he would start in 8th place among 20 cars, which was a respectable result for a rookie. The night before the race was the longest of Jason's life. He mentally reviewed every turn of the track, every possible strategy, every situation he might face during the race. Robert James went to the hotel room where Jason was staying for a father-to-son talk. "Jason, tomorrow is the big day. How are you feeling?" "Nervous, but prepared. I think I'm ready." "Son, I want you to remember one important thing tomorrow. You won't be alone in that car. You'll carry with you the dream of everyone who believed in you, but mainly you'll carry your own determination." "Dad, what if I don't make it?" "Jason, the fact that you're here already proves you've made it. The rest is just a consequence. Drive with your heart, but use your head. And remember, respect your opponents, but don't be intimidated by them." The conversation with his father brought an inner peace that Jason hadn't felt in days. He managed to sleep a few hours and woke up rested on race day Sunday. The day dawned sunny in Indianapolis. Jason arrived at the circuit early and found the whole team already mobilized for the final preparation of the car. Seeing those people working for him was moving, and at the same time increased his sense of responsibility. "Good morning, champion," greeted Dave Roberts with a smile. "Today is the day to show that the Millers know how to drive, as well as understand mechanics." "Thank you, Dave. I'll give it my best." Rachel did the final briefing with Jason, reviewing the race strategy and the critical points of the track. The plan was conservative: finish the race, gain experience, and if possible, score some points. "Jason, don't worry about positions. Focus on running a clean and smart race. The results will come naturally with time." 1 hour before the start, Jason headed to the grid for the formation. Seeing his car lined up with the others, with his name on the windshield, was a moment of deep emotion. Robert James was in the main grandstand, accompanied by William, who had made sure to have Jason's father as a special guest. When the cameras showed Jason in the car, Robert James couldn't hold back his tears. "William, thank you for giving my son this opportunity," said Robert James emotionally. Robert James, the one giving the opportunity, is himself, through his talent and dedication. "I'm just recognizing what's obvious." The last minutes before the start passed quickly. Jason did the tire warm-ups, checked all the instruments and focused on what he had trained in the simulators. "Jason, it's time," said Rachel over the radio. "Trust your preparation and go for it." The signal went green and all the cars accelerated simultaneously. Jason had a conservative start. maintaining his position and avoiding the typical incidents of the first turns. The first laps were about adaptation. Jason observed the behavior of the other drivers, learned about their techniques, and waited for the right moment to position himself better. On the 10th lap, a driver ahead of him made a mistake in turn 3, and Jason took the opportunity to make his first official overtake. The move was clean and precise, exactly as he had practiced in the simulator. "Nice one, Jason," cheered Rachel over the radio. "Keep it up with patience and intelligence." Jason was in 7th place and felt increasingly comfortable in the car. The initial tension had given way to total concentration. He was living his dream and enjoying every second. Halfway through the race, the pit stops for refueling and tire changes began. Jason's team executed a perfect stop, gaining 2 positions through superior strategy. When Jason returned to the track, he was in 5th place with fresh tires. His laps were consistently fast, and he was closing in on 4th place. "Jason, you're driving really well," informed Rachel. "4th place is 3 seconds ahead. You have the pace to catch him." The battle for 4th place lasted 10 laps. Jason consistently pressured the driver ahead, waiting for the right moment to strike. On lap 52, he found his opportunity on the main straight and completed a spectacular pass. Robert James was practically on his feet in the stands, cheering every move his son made. William watched with satisfaction at the maturity Jason showed in his first race. The last 10 laps were about management. Jason maintained 4th place without taking unnecessary risks, focused on finishing his first race with a solid result. When the checkered flag was shown, Jason crossed the finish line in 4th place. It was an exceptional result for a rookie, earning important points in the championship. "Jason, congratulations," celebrated Rachel over the radio. "4th place in your debut. Your father must be proud." Jason could barely speak from emotion. He had completed his first official race with a result beyond the most optimistic expectations. In the paddock, Jason was greeted with celebration by the team. Dave Roberts was the first to congratulate him, followed by the entire technical team that had worked on his car. William appeared with Robert James, who was visibly moved. "Son, what a race," said Robert James, hugging Jason. "You drove like a veteran." "Dad, we did it. We made our dream come true." "We sure did, son. And this is just the beginning." William also congratulated Jason on his performance. "Jason, you surprised me today. The maturity you showed out there was impressive. If you keep this up, you'll go far in this sport." Michael, who had raced in another category the same weekend, came to congratulate Jason as soon as he heard the result. "Congratulations, partner. 4th place in your debut is something special drivers do. You have a bright future ahead." "Thank you, Michael. Your advice helped me a lot today." "It's just the beginning, Jason. You'll see that every race teaches you something new." The podium ceremony was emotional. Jason stepped onto the podium as 4th place, receiving his first official award as a driver. Robert James was in the front row of the stands, applauding and crying with emotion. That night, the team celebrated the result at a restaurant in Indianapolis. Jason was the center of attention, but maintained the humility that always characterized his personality. "Everyone, I want to thank all of you," said Jason during dinner. "This result isn't just mine, it's the whole team's who believed in me when I was just an invisible janitor." "Jason, you earned your place here through hard work and talent," replied Rachel. "You deserve every opportunity you're getting." The season continued with Jason improving with each race. He achieved his first podium in the 5th round at the Austin circuit, finishing in 3rd place after a brilliant race in the rain. The crowning moment came in the penultimate race of the season at Laguna Seca. Jason started from the 2nd row and, after a perfect race, achieved his first victory as a professional driver. Robert James was present at Laguna Seca and saw his son climb to the top step of the podium. During the national anthem, father and son looked at each other and both cried with emotion. After the ceremony, Jason looked for his father in the stands. "Dad, we did it. Our first win. Son, you were brilliant today. You drove like your grandfather would have driven if he had had the opportunity. Dad, thank you for never giving up on our dreams, even when everything seemed lost." Jason, I learned from you that giving up is never an option. You taught me to dream again. William watched the scene moved. Seeing the Miller family fulfilling their dreams through Wilson Motorsport was a source of personal pride. Rachel, we did the right thing, William said to his daughter. We did, Dad. And the best part is that this is just the beginning of Jason's career. Jason finished his first season as a professional driver in 6th place in the championship with 1 win and 3 podiums. It was an extraordinary result for a rookie, which caught the attention of bigger teams. During the season-ending party, William made an important announcement. Everyone, I want to announce that Wilson Motorsport has received an offer to participate in the national championship of the Premier category next year, and our driver will be Jason Miller. The news was met with euphoria by the team. Jason was being promoted to the top tier of national motorsport in only his 2nd season as a driver. Mr. William, I accept the challenge, said Jason. I will work even harder to honor this opportunity. I'm sure you will, Jason. You have already proven that you have talent, dedication, and character. These are the ingredients of success. Robert James was invited to become the official technical consultant of the team for the new category. Accepting meant officially returning to the world he had abandoned 2 decades ago. William, I accept with great pleasure, said Robert James. My son taught me that it's never too late to start over and correct past injustices. Preparation for the new category began immediately. Jason would have to adapt to much more powerful and competitive cars, facing experienced and renowned drivers. Rachel led the technical project of the new car, relying on Robert James's experience in mechanical aspects. It was a perfect combination of modern technology and traditional wisdom. During the first tests with the Premier category car, Jason was impressed by the performance difference. It was like driving a completely new machine. It's amazing how everything changes, Jason commented after the first session. The power, the aerodynamics, everything is more extreme. Jason, you have 1 year to fully adapt, said Rachel. We will work gradually so that you are prepared for the championship. The first year in the Premier category was one of intense learning. Jason scored points regularly and achieved 2 podiums, finishing the season in 10th place overall. It was a respectable result for a young driver in his first experience in the top category. Michael, who competed in the same category for another team, became one of Jason's main rivals on the track, but maintained friendship and respect off it. Jason, you have improved a lot this year, Michael said after the last race of the season. Next year you will be an even more dangerous opponent. Thank you, Michael. I learned a lot by observing your technique during the races. That's how it is. We all learn from each other. The important thing is that the overall level of the championship is rising. Jason's 2nd year in the Premier category was marked by his first victory in the category. It happened at the Indianapolis circuit, where he had made his debut as a professional driver 3 years earlier. The win was built on strategy and patience. Jason started in 5th place, took advantage of his rivals' mistakes, and a perfect tyre strategy to take the lead in the final laps. When he crossed the finish line in 1st place, Jason shouted with emotion over the radio, "We did it! Our first win in the Premier class!" "Congratulations, champ," replied Rachel, moved. "You deserve every second of this victory." Robert James was present in Indianapolis and got to see his son achieve his first win in the top tier of national motorsport. The emotion was indescribable. During the post-race interview, Jason made sure to recall his journey. This win is special because it represents the complete fulfillment of a dream that started when I was just an invisible janitor right here at this track, Jason told the cameras. I want to dedicate this win to my father, who never gave up on our dreams, and to Wilson Motorsport, who gave me the opportunity when no one believed in me. The season continued with Jason regularly fighting for the top positions. He secured 2 more wins and finished the championship in 4th place overall, firmly establishing himself among the country's top drivers. During the season-ending celebration, William made an announcement that surprised Jason. "Jason, your progress over the last few years has been impressive. That's why we've decided to invest even more in your future. We're expanding our structure and hiring an even more specialized technical team." "Mr. William, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for me. Jason, You've repaid every investment we made with results and dedication. Now we want to see you fight for the championship. Jason's third season in the Premier class was marked by significant technical evolution for the team. Williams' investment had resulted in a more competitive car and a high-level professional structure. Jason started the season by taking pole position in the first race and converted it into a win. It was a clear sign that he would be among the title contenders. The season was balanced, with Jason alternating wins and podiums with his main rivals. Michael remained a strong opponent, but other drivers had also improved significantly. By the middle of the season, Jason was leading the championship by 15 points. It was the first time he was truly fighting for the national title, and the pressure was unlike anything he had experienced before. "Jason, how are you handling the pressure of fighting for the championship?" Rachel asked during a break in practice. "It's different, Ms. Rachel. Before I raced to prove I deserved to be here. Now I race knowing I can win it all." "And how does that make you feel?" "Responsible. Responsible for myself, for the team, for my father, for everyone who believed in me from the start." The final stretch of the championship was thrilling. Jason and Michael arrived at the last race separated by just 3 points, with Jason in front. It would be decided on the track who would be the national champion. The final race took place at Laguna Seca, in front of a record crowd. Jason's story had become known nationwide, and many people were cheering for the young man who had risen from obscurity to fight for the national title. Robert James was there, of course, accompanied by William and Rachel. The tension was palpable in the Wilson Motorsport garage. "Dad, today could be the day our dream is completely fulfilled," Jason said before getting in the car. "Son, regardless of the result today, you're already a champion in life, in overcoming, in determination." "Thank you, Dad. I'll give everything I have in this race." The start was perfect for Jason, who kept the pole position and took the lead of the race. Michael started in second and pressured from the first laps. The race was an epic battle between the two drivers who had been part of one of the most interesting stories in national motorsport. On one side, Michael, the talented veteran who had learned to respect and admire his former janitor. On the other, Jason, the determined young man who had earned his place through hard work and humility. The positions changed several times during the race. Jason was leading. Michael took the front. Jason regained the lead. It was a clean and thrilling competition that kept the audience in ecstasy. In the last 10 laps, Jason was ahead by 2 seconds. It was a small advantage, but enough if he could maintain it until the end. Michael was pushing hard, but couldn't get close enough to attempt to pass. On the final lap, Michael managed to close in and tried to pass in the S-curve. Jason defended his position intelligently, without sudden moves, keeping the lead until the final straight. When Jason crossed the finish line, he was officially the national champion. He had completed an unbelievable journey, from an overlooked janitor to champion of the country's premier motorsport championship. The emotion in the Wilson Motorsport pits was indescribable. Rachel was crying with joy. William was celebrating as if it were his own son winning the title, and Robert James couldn't stop crying with emotion. "Champion! You are the national champion!" Rachel shouted over the radio. Jason couldn't respond immediately. He was too emotional to speak. When he finally managed, his voice was choked up. "Thank you, everyone. We've achieved our dream. We are champions." The victory lap was emotional. Jason waved to the audience, who gave him a standing ovation. When he passed in front of the Wilson Motorsport pits, he saw his father crying and waved especially to him. In the closed park, Jason was greeted with a celebration by the team. Everyone wanted to hug him and congratulate him on the historic achievement. Michael was one of the first to congratulate him. "Congratulations, champion," Michael said, extending his hand. "You deserve this title. It was an incredible battle." "Thank you, Michael. You made me a better driver with your respectful rivalry." "Jason, you changed the way I see people. You taught me that competence can come from anywhere." William arrived with Robert James to hug the new champion. "Jason, you made history today," William said emotionally. "From janitor to national champion. It's a journey that will inspire many people." "Mr. William, none of this would have been possible without the opportunity you gave me." "Jason, I just recognized your talent. You built this victory with hard work and dedication. Robert James was visibly emotional as he hugged his champion son. Son, you achieved the dream I never managed to complete. Today is the happiest day of my life. Dad, this title is also yours. You taught me everything I needed to know to get here. The award ceremony was emotional. Jason climbed to the top step of the podium as the national champion, receiving the trophy and the champion's crown. During the national anthem, Jason looked at the grandstand and saw his father, William, Rachel, and the entire team that had believed in him from the start. It was the most emotional moment of his life. In the post-ceremony interview, Jason was asked about his journey. Jason, how does it feel to win the national title after starting as a janitor for the team? It's surreal. A few years ago, I was cleaning this same podium without imagining that one day I would be here as a champion. This achievement proves that in the United States, talent can win, no matter where you start. What was the most difficult moment in your journey? When I was publicly humiliated in the hangar in my early days. I thought about giving up, but my father always taught me that giving up doesn't solve anything. That tough moment became my biggest motivation. What message do you leave for young people dreaming of following in your footsteps? To believe in their dreams, work with dedication, and never lose humility. Opportunities come to those who are prepared and have the character to deserve them. That night, Wilson Motorsport organized a championship celebration party. Jason was the center of attention, but made sure to share the credit with the whole team. Everyone, this championship belongs to all of us, Jason said during his speech. Each one of you contributed to this achievement. We are a family that fulfilled a collective dream. Rachel approached Jason during the party. Jason, did you know your father is being sought by other teams? They want to hire him as a technical consultant. That's great. He deserves all the recognition. And will you continue as my engineer? If you want me to, I'll always be here. You've become more than a driver to me. You've become like a younger brother. Thank you, Ms. Rachel. I couldn't have gotten this far without your help. William approached the group with a glass of champagne in his hand. Jason, I want to make a special toast. A few years ago, you were an invisible janitor in our hangar. Today, you are the national champion. Your journey proves that the United States is full of talent waiting for opportunities. Mr. William, thank you for believing in me when no one else did. Jason, you turned a gamble into a certainty. And the best part is that your story is just beginning. In the months following the championship, Jason received several offers from international teams interested in hiring him. It was tempting, but he decided to stay in the United States for one more year to defend his title. The decision to stay was mainly motivated by gratitude to Wilson Motorsport and the desire to remain close to his family. Robert James had become an important part of the team, and Jason didn't want to break that harmony. During the official championship award ceremony, Jason gave a speech that moved the entire audience. When I was a janitor, I dreamed of one day being able to drive a race car. I never imagined I would reach the national championship. This achievement isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who believes that in the United States, talent can overcome any social barrier. I want to dedicate this championship especially to my father, Robert James Miller, whose career was unjustly cut short in the 90s. Today, through this achievement, the name Miller returns to the top of national motorsport with the dignity it always deserved. The speech generated a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. Jason's story had become a symbol of overcoming and social justice in American sports. After the ceremony, several journalists approached Robert James for interviews about his return to motorsport. Robert James, how does it feel to see your son as the national champion? It's the fulfillment of a dream that was interrupted 20 years ago. Jason taught me that it's never too late to start over and that past injustices can be corrected through hard work and determination. Do you plan to continue working in motorsport? Yes, as long as I can contribute. I've learned that experience is an asset that should be shared, not kept to oneself. The following season began with Jason as the reigning champion defending his title. The pressure was even greater, but he had matured a lot and knew how to handle expectations better. The car was even more competitive than the previous year, a result of Williams' continued investment in the project. Jason won 3 of the first 5 races, showing that he hadn't been a champion by chance. Michael remained his main rival, but other drivers had also improved, and the category was more balanced. The races were competitive and exciting, raising the technical level of the entire championship. Halfway through the season, Jason was comfortably leading the championship, but he knew he couldn't relax. Motorsport is unpredictable, and any carelessness can completely change a season. During an interview, Jason was asked about his future plans. "Jason, do you plan to accept international offers? For now, I'm focused on defending my national title. The United States gave me the opportunity to fulfill my dreams, so I want to give back by bringing joy to the American public." "But you don't rule out racing abroad?" "I don't rule it out, but it would be a very well thought out step. I don't want to abandon the project I built here at Wilson Motorsport without being sure it's the best for my career." Jason's answer pleased William, who had invested heavily in his development and hoped to count on him longer. "Jason shows maturity and gratitude," William commented in an interview. "These are rare qualities in modern sports. He knows his success is the result of collective work." Jason won his second national title more easily than the first. He won 7 of the 12 races of the season and became a 2-time champion with 2 rounds to spare. The celebration for the second championship was even more exciting than the first. Jason had solidified his position as the top driver of the new generation of American motorsport. During the celebration, Jason announced his decision about the future. "Everyone, I want to announce that I've accepted an offer to race in Europe next season, but I want to make it clear that Wilson Motorsport will always be my home." The news was met with mixed feelings. Everyone knew it was a unique opportunity for Jason, but it also meant the end of a golden era for the team. William was the first to congratulate Jason on his decision. "Jason, you deserve this opportunity. You'll represent the United States abroad with the dignity you've always shown here. Mr. William, thank you for everything. Without the opportunity you gave me, none of this would be possible. Jason, you transformed our team. Now it's time to transform international motorsport." Robert James was visibly emotional about his son's decision. "Son, I'm proud of your decision. You earned this right with hard work." "Dad, will you come with me to Europe?" "Son, my place is here now. I'll continue working with Wilson Motorsport. You'll fly alone, but always with our support." Jason's farewell from Wilson Motorsport was emotional. The whole team gathered in the hangar where it all began for a farewell ceremony. "Jason, you arrived here as a janitor and leave as a 2-time national champion," said Rachel emotionally. "Your journey will inspire generations of young Americans. Ms. Rachel, you were fundamental in my development. I'll take all the lessons to Europe." Dave Roberts, the veteran mechanic who always believed in Jason, gave an emotional speech. "Jason, I had the privilege of following your journey from day one. You proved that character and talent are more important than social background. Dave, thank you for being my first supporter when I was just a janitor. I'll never forget that." Jason's last day in the hangar was special. He made sure to visit every corner of the place where his journey began, remembering every significant moment. In the storage room where he found the simulator that changed his life, Jason spent a few minutes in silence, reflecting on the unbelievable journey he had taken. William appeared in the storage room and stood beside Jason. "Thinking about the journey you've taken?" "Yes, Mr. William. It's surreal to remember that it all started here, with a forgotten simulator." "Jason, you proved that opportunities are everywhere. We just need to be prepared to recognize and seize them. Mr. William, how can I thank you for everything you've done for me? Just keep being the person you are. Honor the values you learned here out there in the world. That's the best thanks I could ever receive." Jason's departure for Europe was covered extensively by the media. His story had become known nationwide, and many Americans saw him as representing the country's potential. At the airport, Jason was seen off by the entire Wilson Motorsport family. Robert James was there, of course, along with William, Rachel, and all the mechanics and staff. "Son, you're going to make history out there," said Robert James, hugging Jason. "Dad, I'll carry the Miller name across the globe." We'll show that the United States has the best drivers in the world. I'm sure you will, son. We'll be here cheering for you in every race." Rachel came forward to say goodbye. "Jason, you'll always have a family here in the United States. Never forget where you came from. Mrs. Rachel, you'll be a part of my life forever. Thank you for believing in me." William was the last to say farewell. "Jason, you transformed our team and elevated the name of American motorsport. Now it's time to raise the United States name in the world. Mr. William, I'll carry everything I learned here with me, and one day I'll come back to repay everything you've done for me." The plane took off, carrying Jason to a new stage in his career. From the window, he watched Los Angeles fading into the distance and reflected on everything he had achieved over the past few years. From an overlooked janitor to a two-time national champion who would represent the United States in Europe. It was a journey that seemed impossible a few years ago, but had become reality through hard work, humility, and most importantly, the opportunity given by people who believed in his potential. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this inspiring story of overcoming adversity. Do you believe Jason made the right decision by accepting the international challenge? Leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to help us keep bringing inspiring stories like this one.